Circus of the Stars won't be seen tonight, so we can bring you a very special episode of The Gen X Files. Welcome to The Gen X Files. I'm Jim.
I'm Adam.
And today's show is all about
Scooby Doo, for those of you who don't speak Scooby Doo. Scooby Doo, where are you? The first show in the Scooby Doo oeuvre?
Yeah.
There's so much. We'll get to that at the end, but there's so much Scooby Doo. It's ridiculous.
Sometimes you wish it was a little bit of a Scooby Don't.
Yeah, well, depending on the depending on the media. Yeah.
Scrappy Doo.
Well, hey now, let's not start the scrappy hate too soon.
Hey man.
We got plenty of time for that.
Hey man.
Take yourself back to 1969.
Ooh.
In February, Tinker versus Des Moines Independent Community School District, the Supreme Court of the United States rules that the First Amendment to the United States Constitution does apply to public schools. I only bring this up because I went to school in the Des Moines Independent Community School District, and that is not true. Long John Silver's, the restaurant chain, opened its first store in Lexington, Kentucky.
Ugh.
I have not been to a Long John Silver's since the early 80s.
Yeah, I'm not a big fish guy, and I'm definitely not a big fried globba fish guy.
Long John Silver's always felt like fun when it was growing up, but you'd walk in and immediately you'd feel like they deep fried you.
Yeah. Well, there was
so much oil in the air.
There was one, I don't know if it was Popeye, maybe it was Popeyes, but there was like a chicken fish place that would give out like toys to kids.
Oh, yeah.
And they had like a little spyglass that looked like a pen.
Oh.
And so I always wanted to go to that restaurant because I wanted to get the spyglass.
That might have been Long John Silver's.
You think?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll give him that then.
And on July 19th, Senator Ted Kennedy drives his car off a bridge, killing Mary Jo Kopechne, one of his campaign workers, after leaving a party on Chappaquiddick Island. He didn't report the incident for 9 to 10 hours, and he would have gotten away with it, too, if it wasn't for those meddling kids.
Yeah, he was really drunk, and that's a super sad story.
It is a super sad story.
He was never really held accountable for her death. I think it's Kopechne, actually, isn't it?
I think you're right.
But,
I said it wrong. Yes.
But yeah, I mean, just to go back to that horrible event, yeah. Man,
it was awful.
Yeah, but the Kennedys were the royal family of the...
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't really, quote-unquote, do wrong, but
no.
They did.
So many of them had such a tragic... We had to do a Kennedy show.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Tragic family.
September 13th, Saturday morning, 1969, Scooby Doo, Where Are You? Premieres on CBS.
Scooby-Doo, where are you?
Oh, it's so catchy.
Boom, beep, bop, bop, boom.
Yep, exactly. So why Scooby-Doo? Why this weird dog?
Why Scooby-Doo?
Why his weird friends? And the whole show is just weird.
That's how every philosophy class in college starts. Why Scooby-Doo?
Well, they've never had a good answer.
Yeah.
In 1968, there were some parent-run organizations like the Action for Children's Television that were outraged, just outraged by the violence on Saturday morning cartoons.
These groups are the genesis of the Parent-Teacher Council. All of these pearl-clutching.
Yeah.
He's afraid of demons. Everything is keep your gay out of my eyeballs. And, Bible thumping, blabbity bloops. It's the people that just don't like fun.
Yeah. Once the marijuana started getting more popular, they were like, oh, we got to clamp down on this.
Well, yeah. I mean, Summer of Love, the whole hippie thing.
The late 60s, but yeah.
Huge challenge to the establishment and their control. And, look, let's be honest. Ever since there's anything for kids, it's always been, once there were comic books, those are going to ruin the kids. Yeah. Rock and roll music, Satan's music's going to ruin the kids, so it doesn't matter.
Elvis's hips got my grandmother pregnant just by watching it on TV.
I know.
Yeah.
It's in every medical book.
Nip that in the bud.
Yep.
So the thing is that I was curious about what violent Saturday morning cartoons were happening that they were so outraged by. And some of the shows were like Space Ghost and the Herculoids.
Well, some of you may know Space Ghost as the Space Ghost Coast to Coast talk show.
Well,
but the Cartoon Network recycled a lot of old cartoons like Sea Lab and Space Ghost and Birdman and repackaged them.
That's the whole thing, is that they apparently were too violent for 1968, but they were fine 30 years later to be remade into completely different shows.
Well, sure. They just used the characters as, starting off points.
I've seen old Space Ghost cartoons that really weren't that violent.
Look,
Plus,
man.
It was a cartoon. It was a cartoon.
It doesn't matter. Have you read old comic books?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do they seem like they're going to turn the children into communists?
I am now a full-on Satan. Satanist.
You're a Satanist.
Satanist.
If you diss Satan.
Yeah, so like the Herculoids and Birdman and the Galaxy Trio and all of these...
Herculoids with Gleep and Gloop.
Yeah, that was the space barbarian family Xandor, Terra, and Sundorno.
And they had Zok,
and they fought. The Herculoids were the laser dragon Zok.
Yes.
The space rhinoceros.
Was that Tundra?
Tundro.
He would shoot like glowing rocks from his snoot.
His horn.
Pew,
yeah.
pew, pew.
The rock ape Igu. And the shape-shifting Gloop and his son Gleep.
Bleep, bloop, bloop,
Which
bleep.
I am absolutely convinced is the reason that every time you can't come up with a word, you add BL or GL to anything.
Bleepity bloopity.
But it was a lot of space stuff, too, so it was cool, which makes sense, because the whole space race was happening then. So anyway, virtually all of them were canceled by 1969 due to these parent groups. So no fun to be had.
No, and the parent groups had a lot more sway back then.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because they didn't really realize that the kids got allowance and did their own thing. Because
Right.
kids were very, they obeyed their parents back then, allegedly.
Some of them did, sure.
Some.
So Fred Silverman, the daytime programmer at CBS, he needed a show that would please these groups. So he created the Archie Show, which was based off the Bob Montana Archie comic books. They were a teenage rock group, the Archies, that were featured. They featured music every episode. It was very wholesome.
Jughead had a little crown on.
Yeah, he did.
There's Betty and Veronica. Betty and Veronica.
Yeah.
And Bleep, Blorp, and Gloobity Gloop.
Yeah. Nope, they were canceled. The Sugar Sugar, well, one of their songs they did on the Archies was actually a Billboard #1 hit of 1969.
Yeah, like 8,000 children got diabetes from listening to that song because it was so saccharine.
I'm pretty sure that this is the reason we all have diabetes now.
Sugar, sugar, bop, bop, beep, bop, bop, bop. Oh, honey, honey.
So, due to the success of the Archie Show, Fred Silverman contacted producers William Hanna and Joseph Barbera about creating another show based on a teenage rock group.
So these guys had a lot of success with the Flintstones, which was before The Simpsons, it was the first primetime cartoon.
It was like early 60s, mid 60s, yeah.
And they did the Jetsons, which was another big hit.
Huge hit, yeah.
And then, so he was the guy to go to.
Yeah, they were, Hanna-Barbera had definitely made their name. Yeah, good track record, yeah. So Fred Silverman wanted this to be a teenage rock group featuring teens who solved mysteries between gigs, because being a rock band is not enough. You need to do other things, apparently.
Well, yeah, man. Look, you only play at night. You got to do something with your days.
You sleep.
Yeah. No, none of these guys.
No. Silverman envisioned the show as a cross between the popular I Love a Mystery radio serials of the 1940s and either the Archie characters or the popular early 1960s television series, The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis.
Yeah. He also was a big fan of Abbott and Costello and their Meet Frankenstein and their monster stuff. And
That's the whole thing is that he wanted to be very funny. I mean, like that was the whole, goofy and funny.
Well, I mean, if you look at the reactions of Shaggy and Scooby, it's very Costello's.
Yeah, definitely. It was throwing back to stuff from before, trying to forget about all those crazy, violent space cartoons they had on the previous year.
Yes, damaged a lot of children. Children were going into space and murdering each other.
They literally made rockets and went into space on their own.
Very dangerous time.
The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis, if you do not know, featured Bob Denver as Maynard J. Krebs.
Our old buddy Gilligan from Gilligan's Island, and he was exactly like Shaggy. He spoke the same way, man. Hey, dude.
Yeah.
And he was a beatnik playing the bongos, and he even had the chin whiskies that old Shag had.
Yeah. Whiskers, for those who don't understand what chin whiskies are. But it was literally like he was Shaggy. He was Shaggy. Yeah.
Yes.
Joseph Barbera tried developing a new show, but passed it along to writers Joe Ruby and Ken Spears and the artist-character designer Iwao Takamoto, who had designed pretty much everything for Hanna-Barbera at that point.
Great designer, very iconic, and all you have to do is take a look at a character and you know if it's a Hanna-Barbera character.
Yeah, exactly. He was fantastic. So Ruby and Spears came up with what they called the Mysteries 5.
Ooh.
Which was the name of the band.
Awful name.
And they solved crimes, obviously, or mysteries.
So they're just sitting, I just see it, man. You're sitting around a table, it's like midnight, they had a few scotches, cigarette smoke is thick in the air, and he's just like, damn it, this is called the Mysteries 5. Fine, can we just agree on that?
Yeah, okay.
My wife is giving birth right now. I don't care, but I need to get some cigars.
So it featured 5 teenagers. They were named Jeff, Mike, Kelly, Linda, Linda's brother WW,
Dubba,
and their bongo playing dog, Too Much.
Ranch.
Which is such a beatnik, such a full-on, like
too much, man.
Exactly. 100%.
But the other names are so boring.
Yeah, Jeff. And it's Jeff spelled Geoff.
The worst kind of Jeff. the Joffs of Jeffs.
The only Jeff I've ever seen that's worse than that is GEF, which is terrible.
It's Gaff.
It's Jeff.
Gaff.
According to some people, it's Jeff.
It's Jeff or Gif.
I mean,
it's Gif.
It's Gif. It's Gif.
Um,
So when the Mysteries 5 were not performing gigs, they were out solving spooky mysteries involving ghosts, zombies, and other supernatural creatures. Originally, they wanted Too Much to be a big sheepdog, fearing that a Great Dane would be too close to Marmaduke.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to piss off the Saturday or the weekly comic strips.
Marmaduke was very popular back then. It'd be like making a dog that looks like Snoopy. You know, you don't make a beagle. You don't put a beagle in there.
I guess he is technically a beagle.
He's 100% a beagle.
I've never seen a beagle that looks like Snoopy.
Yeah, but you haven't seen a beagle, baby.
Apparently not.
You're looking at bagels.
Oh, that's. Yeah. I'm sorry. I always wondered why I ate so many beagles.
No.
Yeah. Silverman rejected the dog being a sheepdog. He wanted it to be a Great Dane. So they said, okay, we'll make him a Great Dane.
I think they eventually made a show with a sheepdog. I think that Dune Buggy show. I think their
Buggy?
dog. Yeah, Buggy had a sheepdog.
I think you're right. Yeah. It also had a talking car.
Sheepdog. Yeah. Well, we'll get into the ripoffs, which are friggin' awesome.
Yeah. So Takamoto consulted a Great Dane breeder and then proceeded to break all the rules and make Too Much with overly bowed legs, a double chin, and a sloped back, among other abnormalities.
Yeah, deformed.
Making him a very weird, deformed dog.
He's not a brave dog. Scooby.
Well, no, he definitely, he looks that. He looks like he's scared all the time.
Yeah, it fits the character as a meek, wanting to eat everything, scaredy pie.
I just thought that was the drugs.
Well, hey, look. Parent-teacher council said no.
You gotta hide that stuff better.
Teenagers eat a lot, Adam. They don't need drugs.
That's true. They are growing boys and girls, and they need to eat a lot. That's true.
Like, wow. Zoinks.
So they made further revisions. Ruby and Spears made further revisions to base the show more off of Dobie Gillis rather than Archie. Jeff became Ronnie, who later became Fred.
Ronnie.
At Silverman's request, because I don't know if he hated the name Ronnie.
And Fred is just like Fred.
So generic.
Yeah. But it fits.
Kelly, it does. Kelly became Daphne.
Nice.
Linda became Velma.
Excellent.
And WW became Shaggy.
It's great names. All great names.
Much better than the original names. For sure. There was a character named Mike, but he was eliminated.
Yes. Mike died in the... You didn't see the first... there's an unseen pilot of Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
Where Mike is a visceral... It's really, really graphic.
Yeah.
He gets drawn and quartered by these quote-unquote ghosts. But they end up just being dudes at the end. They were masked up. Like, you killed Mike. It's just old man turkey. And it's like, I would have gotten away with the drawn and quartering Mike if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have gotten away with it.
And they had like his head on the dashboard for a while.
He was like the hula girl.
Yeah, he was their mascot.
Yeah. not too much. The Great Dane, it was Mike's head.
Hey, Mike.
So Fred Silverman really liked the new pitch, but he changed the title. He came up with a new title to Who's Scared?
And then there's two S's.
Yeah, that's why I tried to get that across, but it was...
Which is also a stupid title, but it's very descriptive.
Yeah. Yeah. But he took
Guess who's
that.
not scared?
Oh, no, who's not
Anybody who's watching that show.
No. I could not imagine a single person.
No, I mean, it was a little scary as a kid.
Well, when Fred Silverman brought that to his bosses, since he was just the daytime programmer, they thought it was too scary for kids.
Ooh.
And so they said
Man, it's weird. We think about kids being coddled today, but damn, man, they were really trying to protect their
weird
virgin ears from
creepy
anything.
cartoon. Like it's not even. It's just goofy. It's not even. Wow. Yeah. So Silverman had Ruby, Spears, and the Hanna-Barbera staff revise the treatments and presentation materials to tone down the show and better reflect its comedy elements.
Adding a laugh track.
Yeah, they added a laugh track. That definitely helped. So people realized what's funny.
Yeah, I didn't know how to laugh as a child until I watched Scooby Doo and heard the laugh track.
I didn't. I learned how to laugh from The Big Bang Theory because it has the best laugh track.
This is how I learned how to laugh.
Yeah, it's odd. It is odd, but it works. I mean, they did eventually. They did take the laugh track out during
it's unsettling
reruns in the 80s. Yeah, it doesn't work.
No,
it just doesn't.
No, especially when you grow up on it. It just also adds to the vibe and the wackiness and the silliness of the show.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very I'm not a big fan of laugh tracks, but it works on that.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah. So they also dropped the rock band element, and more attention was focused upon Shaggy and Too Much.
Now I gotta ask you, because I was thinking about this. Was there ever an iteration of Scooby Doo where they were a band? Because I do remember them stopping and singing a song in the middle, or was that a Scooby-Doo ripoff show?
I think that was a ripoff show.
But I thought they would sing a song with their guest in the Scooby-Doo movies or something.
My guess is that if like Davy Jones maybe, or I mean, it's very possible.
Sonny and Cher, Mama Cass. What an odd choice for a Scooby-Doo. Such a great episode. But that's the Scooby-Doo movies. We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. So, according to Ruby and Spears, Silverman was inspired by Frank Sinatra's scat
"Dooby Dooby Doo"
at the end of his recording of Strangers in the Night on a red-eye flight that he heard. So he took that to one of the development meetings and decided to rename the dog Scooby Doo.
Scooby Dooby Doo.
And they retitled it Scooby Doo, Where Are You?
Yeah.
With an exclamation point.
Yeah, Scooby Doo, where are you?
Yeah, they're not asking where he is. They want him to come back.
Yeah, because he's running away. Got to give him a Scoob snack to get him back doing the brave stuff.
Exactly. Or, well, at least running away from the monsters. And accidentally solving all the crimes.
Yes. Just falling into knocking over the people. It was, somehow getting on a sled that goes down a bunch of different Rube Goldberg things. It's beautiful.
That was, okay, well, so the Rush show was represented to CBS executives who approved it for production, and so they went into voice casting.
Yes.
They hired Casey Kasem as Shaggy.
Casey Kasem. If you don't remember, Casey Kasem used to do a show called The Top 40.
American Top 40.
American Top 40. It was a radio show that everyone would listen to because you would hear the top 40 songs, and there would always be a moment where Casey Kasem, he would get very serious. Casey Kasem with America's Top 40. We have a long-distance dedication. This one is from Fred. Fred misses Marjorie. Marjorie died, unfortunately, from being stomped on by several horses. He just wanted to tell her that he loved her. Here's Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Yeah. it's just like...
Oh, poor Marjorie. Oh,
yeah.
The weird thing is, if you watch the old ones, it to me does not sound like Casey Kasem at all. I mean, granted, he was much younger,
yeah.
But also, I do think he was affecting a radio voice.
Well, he's got it. He's because you're down here.
Yeah, he's
of course.
Yeah,
but hey, Scoob. It's really he does a great job.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Scoob Shaggy is an iconic character. And he was the first character too to have that kind of beatnik hippie talk, wow, man,
yeah,
ooh. And then Scoob was kind of a little hippie too. He was a little hippie buddy.
He did a lot of drugs.
Ruby Rack.
They hired Frank Welker to do Fred. The name may sound familiar because he's done everything. He most famously known as Optimus Prime.
Yes.
He actually took over doing Scooby Doo's voice in 2002.
Yeah.
And he's been doing it ever since. Doing Fred and Scooby Doo since 2002 when Don Messick unfortunately passed.
Nice.
Which Don Messick...
Mauled to death by dogs.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Really ironic, yeah.
Considering that he made a living playing dogs.
Chihuahuas. It was weird. It was a lot of them.
It was...
Look it up.
Scooby's speech was patterned closely after Astro from the Jetsons.
Astro?
Yeah, which Don Messick did as well.
Yeah, they were never in the same room together, by the way, Astro and Scooby Doo. A lot of people think that they were the same dog. Yeah.
But one was brown and one was gray. And one was in the
Makeup.
future.
Yeah, it's called acting, Adam.
So actress Nicole Jaff played Velma and Indira Stefaniana played Daphne.
Jaff or Jaffe?
Jaff is how I read it.
Okay.
But they only played it for these 2 seasons, and then they both got replaced for future shows.
Really?
Yeah.
What'd they do?
Both of them retired.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, for whatever reason. One of them got pregnant and said, okay, I'm going to go be a mom, and took off. Yeah, which, whatever.
Well, that's whatever. Okay.
Not worth it. So
this was in the 60s, early 70s, man.
Yeah. So from there, the Scooby-Doo routine was born, which was the cookie cutter for all of the Scooby-Doo episodes.
Hey, gang, why don't we stop up here for a minute and get some gas?
Well, there's a kind of... I can't do any of the voices.
It looks spooky.
It's like a big haunted house, but let's stop here anyway.
Like, oh, I don't want to do it, man. Jinkies.
They would find a monster. Usually Scooby and Shaggy would find a monster, and then they'd get chased by it, and not knowing what it was. Velma would find clues, and was obviously the smartest one.
Yeah.
And
I loved Velma. I had such a crush on her.
Daphne, oh yeah.
I mean, Daphne was fine, but Velma was smart, and she seemed to... It's just Daphne just constantly got in trouble. It just was constantly the woman in distress.
Yeah,
the damsel in distress.
Which is sad. She's not as much anymore in the newer stuff. They gave her a little more to do than just getting caught.
Right.
But that was kind of her part in the early series.
Well, that's kind of how things worked back then. There was a damsel in distress and was saved by the hero. But what was different about this is it wasn't always Fred just being, because Fred was the prototypical hero with his steel jaw and his
orange
red ascot, which I loved. I think they stole the costume out of Speed Racer's locker.
It's so bright colors,
but it's great. I mean, all the colors work really well together.
Oh,
the orange turtleneck, and the green T-shirt for Shaggy, and the purples for Daphne. And
it's great design.
Yeah,
absolutely great design.
Really eye catching. But it was great to have a young lady be the brains of the operation and basically figure everything out. She was the one that'd be like, okay, this is what happened. She would explain the whole situation to everybody.
Do the recap.
Yeah, she would explain to us, the audience.
So in case you didn't catch the obvious what happened here it is. Which makes sense. And now granted, I mean, I'm not 7 watching this, so maybe you need that.
Right. I mean, you have the mentality of a 7-year-old.
I never did, but... So Fred would usually build some kind of trap that would catch the monster. He'd try to be the hero, and it usually sometimes would work, sometimes wouldn't.
It would almost always not work, and it would be some sort of mistake or some sort of Scooby and Shaggy wackadoo, causing something to fall in and knock the air out of the ghost or the goblin or the shark monster or whatever it was. And then they would be like, let's see who it is.
And then the monster would always be
an old white man.
A mean old man. Yeah.
Oh, I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling kids.
So it was scheduled opposite ABC's The Hardy Boys.
So that was the animated Hardy Boys, right?
Yeah, the animated Hardy Boys.
Or whatever. Everybody was in a band.
Everybody was in a band. Yeah, it was a big thing. It was all trying to be the band. It was because of the Archies. The Archies did so well. Like, it was a huge... And it wasn't violent. So,
No, not at all.
Cookie cutter.
Violent to our sensibilities.
The Hardy Boys show actually premiered the week before Scooby Doo did.
Got the jump on them.
But it does not matter because Scooby Doo pulled in, on average, a 65% Nielsen rating, meaning that 65% of any given TV household was watching that Scooby Doo on Saturday morning.
But to be fair, there were 3 channels.
Okay, that's a good point.
You had your UHF and your VHF.
Yeah.
But those were mostly like public access.
Yeah, weird stuff that you really don't want to be watching.
No.
Yeah. So after the initial 16 episodes, it was renewed for a second season for 9 episodes.
Weird.
Yeah, it's a little odd.
Because back then it was like 25 episodes a season for stuff.
Not for Saturday morning cartoons. It's really odd because most of the Saturday morning cartoons only lasted 16 to 24 episodes.
Probably because it cost. Because they had to hand draw all the animation back then, and it was much bigger.
Yeah, I imagine it was a very costly kind of thing. And then they would, once they had 16 episodes, they would just rerun the living hell out of them.
Oh, yeah.
Until everybody and their mother knew everything about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes you think that there were more episodes. They also added, the new Scooby Doos as they went along into the oeuvre and kind of repackaged everything as like the Scooby Doo mysteries or whatever.
So that was after, exactly, and that was the other thing too. Yeah, they'd repackage constantly. Like that was a huge thing. So they would intermix the older and the newer and all that. And they did CBS in 1972. They did start the new Scooby Doo movies on CBS. Yeah. Let's talk about all of the random shows that were influenced.
Oh my God, yeah.
By Scooby Doo.
We'll talk about this on the Stepdads. I loved Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
And I loved the preview.
Yeah.
That you would see on, Friday
the Friday night.
They give you all the thing. So
the Friday night prime time preview, yeah.
I remember the Funky Phantom. Okay? And that was like 3 teenage detectives driving around and solving crimes with a Revolutionary Era war ghost. I'm pretty sure he was on the good side.
It's so bizarre.
He wasn't British, I don't think.
I'm pretty sure he was American.
Then we had the forward-thinking, The Amazing Chan and the Chan Clan.
Charlie Chan.
It was I remember this show. You had Charlie Chan and his number 1 son, and I think they had a cat. Or something.
Yeah.
Do they have a cat?
Yeah, there's a cat. Yeah.
I think that's how the cat laughed. That's how all the Hanna-Barbera animals that didn't speak laughed. That mutt, Mugsley or whatever.
Pugsley or something. Oh,
anyway,
that was
so we had that one, which was a little problematic. Then we had Speed Buggy, which took it to a whole new level because we still have 3 teenagers, which seems to be the 3 teenagers is a must for all of these rip-off shows. So we got Mark, Debbie,
Mark, Debbie, and Tinker.
Old Tinker. And Tinker, okay, so they would go in a lot of races, right?
Yeah.
Tinker was called Tinker because he was their mechanic. He would fix up
is that why?
Buggy. And Speed Buggy was like... That's how he...
It was a weird talking car.
Yeah, that was actually a fun show. Then, around 1973, we get Goober and the Ghost Chasers. We got 3 teenagers, strangely enough.
Wait, 3 again?
Yeah, we got Ted, Gilly, and Tina.
Oh.
They're solving some spooky mysteries with their Afghan hound-like dog, Goober. So
Goober,
he's the Afghan, yeah.
The Afghan hound, yeah.
They had some, guest stars, like the Partridge Family was on for a while. Voiced by the real Partridge Family.
Yeah. They were in for 8 of the first 11 episodes or something. And then they disappeared after that and literally were never mentioned again.
Now we're getting into 2 of my favorites as a child. Number 1, Jabberjaw. Jabberjaw was basically Curly from Three Stooges.
Yeah.
Voiced again by our good buddy Frank Welker.
Frank Welker, yeah.
Frank Welker, impersonating Curly Howard. He was the drummer. He was Great White Shark.
This show is so bizarre.
Yeah. Okay, we had 3 teenagers again. Of course, because you can't do it without 3 teenagers. So we had a Great White Shark, Jabberjaw, 15 foot tall.
Yeah.
Kind of small for a great white, a fully grown great white. But this is the future.
I mean...
It's 2070... What?
2079. 2076.
2076. The tricentennial of the country. So he was the drummer for this band called the Neptunes in 2076. Yeah. And Biff, Shelley, Bubbles, and Clamhead. And they all live in an underwater civilization. They traveled to They
did a lot of puns. It was very Flintstone-y,
yes.
And they did a lot of puns like Alaska was like Aqualaska and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was basically there was a bunch of drunk executives at a retreat at the Marriott Hotel, and they were all in the business center. Just we need to figure this thing out, and then they just started flipping channels. Like, okay, Three Stooges. All right, we'll take Curly. Flintstones. We'll take all the puns because should it be prehistoric? No, it's in the future. And should it be underwater? Underwater. We get a lot of puns.
Well, it has to be underwater because at that point, climate change has gone so bad that there's no civilizations above ground anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if the explanation was the eco route.
It was a really sad, depressing show.
It was great, though. It was really fun. I remember Jabberjaw. They would solve mysteries, and every single episode ended with a musical chase sequence.
Of course.
With Jabberjaw and the gang would run from the villains, doing zany cartoon stuff, and then while a song by the Neptunes would play in the background.
He was.
So that's what I was thinking of with the. Was there a song in it?
Yeah.
It was definitely
Jabberjaw. It was them. Yeah, Jabberjaw was voted the third most liked drummer, right behind the one-armed guy from Def Leppard.
Yes, well, say what you want about Jabberjaw. He really he was very serious about his music. And then we have Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels, which is basically a parody of Charlie's Angels with Captain Caveman, who, spoiler, caveman. I guess they dug him up.
Sure the title gives that away.
We got three angels, Brenda, Dee Dee, and Taffy, who work with Captain Caveman, or Cavey for short.
Cavey, yeah. Cavey.
He's a superhero. He has a cape and everything, by the way, and a club. Like, he's got this big club that does all sorts of stuff.
He was very strong. Mm-hmm. He was very, very strong.
So we had that. And then there was also Hong Kong Phooey, which was with Scatman Crothers, is Hong Kong Phooey, who was a janitor in a police station.
Yeah.
And he would jump into a file cabinet, always getting caught up in it, to change into his gi and his...
to do his kung fu.
To do his kung fu. He had a little black mask on, and he worked with some cops to solve crimes. He had like a car that turned into a boat and a plane and stuff.
So weird.
Oh, it was so great.
It was so
weird.
Great.
That one was my favorite. Hong Kong Phooey.
I feel like
Hong Kong Phooey.
It was great. Yeah. I personally like Captain Caveman of all of them just because of the theme song.
Great too. Yeah,
it was great. But I feel like Hanna-Barbera. I feel like they. In 1970, they said, "Hey, we got a good thing going with the Scooby Doo. Mm-hmm. Let's all just write down anything and throw it into a bowl." And
what else can we dooby-doo with Scooby Doo?
It was like playing Mad Libs with like plots and setups.
We have a shark. Okay, we have to always start with three teenagers. Okay, can we all agree on that?
We all agree on
the three teenage
kids. Yeah,
the three teenage model. But they also did some really fun stuff. They created their own universe by creating like Wacky Racers and the Laugh Olympics, and you would get all your Hanna-Barbera favorites competing. Because back then there was a big thing about celebrity competitions. There was Battle of the Network Stars.
Yes, Battle of the Network Stars.
Where you would have Hal Linden going up against Alan Arkin in a race over balloons or something. I mean, it was bizarre. They would have Circus of the Stars.
Yeah.
Where you would have... stars of chips doing the trapeze.
It was super weird, and they would make the celebrities do things that they obviously could not do, like let's go do a high dive, and it's like what?
But it was so magical. You would have those, and you would have your specials, and
these are all primetime shows. Yeah,
of course, 100%. These were just. It was just dope for kids. Anything that was just goofy. They did such a good job of let's get back to Hanna-Barbera. They just did a really good job of utilizing all their characters in a very effective way. Like Wacky Racers was like a series about it's a mad world. Basically these racers racing across the country to try to get to some prize money or something, sabotaging each other.
Right.
It was just awesome. And then the Laugh Olympics, they're it's the Olympics for all these guys.
Doing sports. Yeah. Just doing some sports. So Scooby Doo had a very large influence for a long time until the 80s. And then Saturday morning cartoons got violent again.
Well, what happened is in the 70s, there was so much innovation because there were a lot of drugs, a lot of weed. you had guys like Sid and Marty Krofft that were making Zygmunt and the Z Monster and H.R. Puff and stuff, and all these really awesome, trippy live actions. And you had Hanna-Barbera making all these wacky, shark solving crimes, rock and roll shows. But then in the 80s, they realized that they could sell toys with cartoons, and everything just became a commercial. So there would be He-Man, or there would be, and He-Man, not against these shows, they were fun shows, but there was He-Man, there was G.I. Joe, there was all these things that were just half-hour commercials for toys, and then they would have, then they literally had to stop showing commercials for the toy of the thing, because it was just so, they're like, look, we're inundating these children, they're going to go insane, I need the battle play set, I need the battle play set,
Yeah.
I was like that. But yeah, I mean, the commercialism of the 80s, there was also, but there was a backlash to the end of the 80s where we got some really good stuff, like the Ed Grimley Show and The Tick, and stuff
kind
that
of
was
an independent renaissance.
Exactly. Stuff that wasn't trying to sell anything except fun.
So in 1972, after the cancellation, or I wouldn't say cancellation, but kind of the ending of the original Scooby Doo, they did the new Scooby Doo movies.
Oh, these are my favorites.
This also aired on CBS. It ran for 24 episodes over 2 seasons. It was an hour-long incarnation of the show, and the only hour-long incarnation.
Oh, it's so great.
And it ran on CBS as well. Fred Silverman really loves Scooby Doo.
Hey, man, I'm with it.
Proved by the fact that after he became the president of ABC, he brought Scooby Doo to ABC in the late 70s. Yeah, where it stayed. I think it's technically still owned by ABC.
Maybe.
Kind of like it's not. Anyway. So the new Scooby Doo movies had a rotating special guest star slot.
Ah, so cool.
They were still solving crimes. It was still the same setup of a monster trying to do something bad.
But they would show up in like Mayberry, and there would be Barney Fife, or they would show up at Mama Cass's candy factory for some strange reason. She wasn't a singer, but she had a candy factory.
I really gotta wonder if
that's one of my favorites, by the way. She was awesome in that. She was hilarious.
They literally had to put another character in there to be as fat as she was.
Yeah,
and I feel bad. I feel bad because I feel like she wasn't really a big person. I mean, she was a big person.
Woman. It's fine. Look, she was not. It wasn't a thing. Look, she was not concerned about that. It wasn't her.
That's true. That's true.
She didn't care. She was a great.
But she literally owned a candy factory.
Yes, in the Scooby Doo thing, which was. Hey, look. Hats off to her for being game and playing along. I mean, the amount of puns that comes out of this woman's mouth in a 5-minute period is extremely impressive. I gotta be honest, she did them all with a very straight face, and she read the lines that were really bad. So good. But there was also the Addams Family with John Astin, original TV.
John Astin and Jackie Coogan is Uncle Fester.
Yep.
Jodie Foster playing Pugsley and just doing the voice. Obviously, she wasn't in the original show. But they met Batman and Robin.
Was it done by Adam West?
It was not. It was not. It was 2 random people. Although I say random people, but Casey Kasem did Robin. Yes.
Hey, Batman! Like zoinks!
Zoinks, Batman!
Holy zoinks, Batman! Woohoo!
They met the 3 Stooges twice.
Were they They weren't.
No.
They sounded pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously
they were dead by then, weren't they?
Yes. Well,
some of them.
I think most of them. Yes.
Maybe.
But they met Laurel and Hardy, which was a great episode because they also met Bigfoot.
Yeah. Oh man, it was just so much going on. Don Adams from Good Smart.
Well, that was all the quote unquote fictional characters, but then they actually had real people come in, like Mama Cass and
Right. They loved Don Knotts so much that they had Don Knotts on as Barney Fife and Don Knotts on as Don Knotts. Oh, so how does that work?
I
think they made a joke like, you look a lot like, zoinks, you look a lot like Bernie Fife. I get that a lot.
Oh, Don Knotts. But like Dick Van Dyke, Sandy Duncan, which was
so random.
great episode.
Yeah, with the Jekyll and Hyde, right?
It was the guy, the monster. He actually played a few other Universal monsters as well, but he was an actor who was trying to save the studio by apparently scaring everyone away.
Yeah, there was weird motivations back then, but I think they were like, "Wow, you're a really good actor. Let's put him back to work." That one had a happy ending.
It saved the studio.
The old white man didn't go to jail.
He did get away with it.
Yeah, he did. What he did helped. And they didn't. And Sandy Duncan she'd pull out that glass eye.
Oh, come on
ping,
now.
And bunk, knocked the guy's mask right off, and then it went right back into her eye.
It was
amazing what she could do with that.
He thought that Daphne was Sandy Duncan. And that was so he kidnapped Daphne,
which makes no sense. I think he had Alzheimer's. They didn't really know what that was back then, but I think he was.
This was also the episode with the luge toboggan thing, which was so bizarre. They were going down chasing the monster, and all of them are jumped onto this toboggan, and he's going left, and they're starting to go right. So their solution is to all jump on the back and hang off the back.
We had to slow it down, Adam. They were being brakes,
but they needed to turn
and rudders.
They
were
needed
being
to
a
turn.
rudder, man.
Did it work?
Yes.
No.
Eventually.
No, it did not.
Well,
it just didn't make sense.
Some of the other wonderful guests, we had Sonny and Cher.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Playing themselves
were great.
in The Secret of Shark Island. And he has a bunch of dudes in shark suits running around.
It was pre-Jabberjaw.
It was. And they were in scuba suits. It was like, when when Velma finally unmasked them, she was like, and they have scuba suits. And their fins made it easier for them to swim.
No, really? Is that how they work?
And their tanks fit in their fins.
The best part about that episode is that when the guy gets caught, it's literally the undercover guy. He just goes, "All right, guys, you can get out of the suits now." And the guys just take off the suits, and it's like, "Oh, it's just dudes in shark suits."
It's
okay.
Like, well, I didn't get caught, jerk. Maybe we want to run away.
Yeah.
We had the best Tim Conway.
Oh, Tim Conway's so good.
Oh my goodness, from Carol Burnett. We had Phyllis Diller.
Her episode was fantastic.
Well, she's a hilarious comedian.
Although her head was literally half the size of Scooby Doo's body.
You know what? Take a look at a picture, baby.
Very true to life. I will say some of the animations of the actors, the real life people, was a little suspect.
Well, I mean, they exaggerated them for effect. You know, Don Knotts.
Oh my god, his poor face.
Who was as himself, and guess who's not Knott coming to dinner, and then as Barney Fife in Spooky Fog of Juneberry instead of Mayberry.
Yeah. It's June now.
Yeah, it's Juneberry.
It was just the animation was fine and enough to the where obviously people watching would know who these people are.
Sure. Davy Jones from the Monks.
Davy Jones is good.
And then my absolute very, very, very favorite, best guy in the world, one of the best improvisers ever to do the improvising, Mr. Jonathan Winters, who played himself and Maud Frickert in the Frickert Fracas.
I can literally every time I hear it, I can hear him saying it.
Maud Frickert in the Frickert Fracas. Oh my god, that one was so funny. And these are the shows that got. I was a little too young for the first run. I was way too young for the first run of Scooby Doo. But the Scooby Doo movies this is what got my love for. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because this is also something where because they were hour long, they would break them up and remix them and repackage them and stuff like that. But they've actually, interestingly enough, they've tried to release everything together on like home video, but for the longest time they couldn't get permission from some of the estates of the actors to do it, which is really odd. 23 of the episodes have been released officially, but the Addams Family episode has never been officially released.
Well, that's probably rights for those characters.
Yeah,
because it's a different. I mean, it's probably different. I'm sure a lot of the estates of these people are like, we don't want it. I bet you it's some sort of character issue, some sort of rights issue for the Addams Family or Mayberry, or that's why they called it Junesberry because then it's not necessarily the same thing.
But it has been. I mean, you can still find stuff online. I mean, it's around.
Yeah, we found some stuff on YouTube.
On the YouTubes. So since 1973, beyond the first two TV shows, there have been 11 more TV series.
Wow.
Starring Scooby Doo.
Well, this is a 53-year run or 52-year run we're going on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. They did 10 crossover episodes, including Dynamite the Wonder Dog.
Yeah, from the Super Friends, right?
Yeah.
He was with the Wonder Twins, right?
Yeah, the Wonder Twins, yeah.
Dynamite.
Yeah. And more recently, Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, Johnny Bravo in the late 90s. They were on an episode of Supernatural.
Such a great episode. I'm a big
Live
fan.
action.
I
Live
love
action, yeah.
Supernatural. It's really great. If you haven't seen Supernatural, it's a great show. And they do a lot of wacky, self-aware kind of episodes. And the joy that these guys had being in a Scooby Doo episode was it's so great. Watch it. Even if you haven't watched the show, it's worth watching this episode because it's done so well.
Supernatural is high on my list. It's just that it's 18 seasons long.
Yeah, it's a commitment.
It's a lot. And they were also on Teen Titans Go.
Teen Titans Go!
Yeah. There have been 41 animated films, including direct-to-DVD and theatrical.
In different varying degrees of quality.
That is very true. There were 5 live-action films, TV specials, shorts.
5?
Comics. Yeah.
So there was 2 with
the
Sarah Michelle
in
Gellar,
2002
right?
and 2004, I think it was. The one that's the most common, those 2. But there were direct-to-video movies they did as well.
Oh, before or after?
After.
Oh, okay.
But they
With a
were
different
not
cast?
different cast. Yeah. And also kind of suspect CG. But yeah, live action. I think 2 were direct-to-video, like actually direct sales video, and then 1 was like a TV movie that was on.
And the theatrical Scoob,
Yeah.
which was animated.
Yeah.
Which was good. It was fun.
So many TV specials, so many shorts, an insane number of comics, like just a crazy amount of comics. Just so many things. They've been in 20 video games.
I don't think I've played any of those.
I definitely have not played any of
don't
those
remember.
because I didn't even realize there was one, let alone 20.
Yeah. I mean, are they in like fighting games? Is that
No.
Scooby Doo and Mortal Kombat 4?
God, that'd be. I would play that. And then
Finish him.
perhaps the most interesting, there have been 5 stage plays based off of Scooby Doo.
Well, if you haven't been hearing, I'm auditioning for the role of Scooby Doo for the North Hollywood production of
Are you
Scooby Doo?
playing Scooby Doo?
Yes, I will be. It's a 15-seat black box theater. We'll pay you $8 to come.
Are you sure? I think it's a better idea if you play all the characters.
I do too.
Do it as a
because
one-man Scooby Doo. Where are you?
I think
show.
that's what the world has been clamoring for.
A 45-minute version
Yes,
of Scooby
45 minutes. That's just the Act 1. This is an opus, baby. We're talking a 3-hour opera.
I do believe that they actually the plays were all technically licensed. So like they're official, quote unquote official.
That's cool.
But whatever you can do to make money off it, I guess.
All right, we're going to talk about the most controversial aspect of the Scooby Doo series.
Okay.
Scrappy Doo.
Okay.
Okay?
He started
can't
in the
go without Scraps.
early 90s, wasn't it? Or was it late 80s?
Late 80s.
Late 80s? Okay.
I think back then there was a need for little children in things. When anything started to go south, your family ties, ratings slipped, have a baby. In comes Brian Bonsall.
Or Leonardo DiCaprio in
Exactly. Well, he wasn't a baby,
Pains?
but he was a young man.
But they brought him in late.
He was a cute young guy.
Was it?
He was
Gonna pull that clip. Gonna pull that one.
That's just the thing. I think the impetus of that was the Brady Bunch bringing in Cousin Oliver.
Yes.
Because the kids were
Getting
awkwardly,
older.
They were just going through puberty and stuff. And so we had Cousin Oliver to do the cutes. So they had to bring in the cutes for Scoobs. And in comes his nephew, was it?
Yeah.
Scrappy Dappy Doo! The most obnoxious. Even the network thought that Scrappy Doo was a bad influence on kids.
How?
Because he was just so pushy and so just annoying. But what they would say was like, well, he gets things done. It always comes out. The ending justifies the means, basically. Like he does it. He's not setting fires but he was just a rude little jerk. And he was such a spaz. It just ruined the vibe of the show for me. I don't know if there's. Please let us know if there's any Scrappy fans out there.
I think you're going to be hard pressed to find any
Scrappy
Scrappy-Doo fans.
Doo tattoos, face tattoos.
If you like Scrappy Doo, you can email us at the Gen X
please.
Files podcast.
I want to know why. Why do you like Scrappy Doo?
Yeah.
But Scrappy Doo was kind of
how can you not like that face?
I think he was the villain in one of the movies, right?
Yeah, in the live action movie.
Which was great because
it's so bad.
he's just so obnoxious. He's just this pushy little like New York pup that isn't cute and isn't endearing and is just like, even the characters are just like, Scrappy.
He was actually introduced in 1979.
I remember. I remember that preview. I remember that night, Friday night, looking at my preview, having some cereal. I would have my cereal at night.
At night?
Mm-hmm. And I would watch that preview, and even then I was like, what are they doing to Scooby-Doo? Like the 13-second clip I saw of Scrappy-Doo.
Who is this?
I was like, no, I don't like this. No. And I did not like it. I did not. Even as a child, I was like, this is obnoxious. Who do I write to complain about this Scrappy-Doo?
I literally did not do any research on Scrappy-Doo because I do not like the character. Good. It was bad.
Talk too much about it, this abomination of the Doo series. Scrappy. Ooh,
he doesn't get used very often anymore, so it's...
Yeah, because everyone hates him. He's used as a punchline, I think it was brilliant to make him the ultimate. He's not in it until the very end when it's revealed he's the ultimate villain. But
that was the nod to the everyone hating him. And
well, they did a lot. They did the Mary Jane in the live action movies. They made a lot of references, like sexual references and weed references and stuff that, for all of us old timers that watch from the beginning,
If you want to bring it all back around, you want to have a real fun watch on YouTube. There's a lot of videos about how bad for kids the 2002 Scooby-Doo movie is.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Just how it's like, you shouldn't have your kids watch this. It's terrible.
Well, it wasn't really for the kids.
No, no, it was not.
But also another aspect that I loved about the show was the food. Okay, they get to a haunted house where nobody's been for 100 years. And somehow the kitchen is stocked with turkeys and bread and ham and ice cream and sardines and cheese and Limburger cheese, and then makes it in this giant Dagwood sandwich. And let's give credit where credit's due. Scooby didn't start with these giant, 14 decker sandwiches. That started with Dagwood from the Blondie comic strip.
Yeah, comic strip.
Hence the Dagwood sandwich name, which is a giant sandwich. But man, I loved those sandwiches and the food that they would eat, because it was just like zoinks. And they would make these gross concoctions, like ice creams, pickles on them, and ice cream on hot fudge, ham and cheese sandwich. And they didn't smoke any pot, not at all. And then the Scooby snacks. What was in them Scoob snacks?
More weed. That was
because
wasn't that the...
It must have been edibles. I don't know, because that's how it'd be like, Scooby, we need you to go into this hole a million miles down and scare out these ghosts. Would you do it for a Scooby snack? Would you do it for 2 Scooby snacks? Okay. It was just like, and then they would do the most dangerous thing in the world, all for their bellies. That's what I loved about them. They weren't doing it for the people. They weren't doing it to save anybody. They were doing it for the Scoob snacks. That's what we do it for. For the Gen X snacks.
The Gen X snacks. I'm gonna go eat
those
some.
Are edibles, actually.
Eat some right after we're done here.
One more thing before we wrap it up. There is a new Scooby Doo.
Is it the new Scooby Doo movies?
Yes, there is a new Scooby Doo show called
Scooby Doo and Guess Who.
Scooby Doo and Guess Who,
it's based off the same premise as the new Scooby Doo movies.
Yes, and it is. I've seen a few episodes. It's really
Super
fun.
fun.
There's an amazing group of guest stars that include Leia Lally, Kimberly Brooks, Alton Brown, Steve Buscemi, Joey Chestnut, Sandy Duncan, Jeff Dunham, Darcy Lynn Farmer, Jeff Foxworthy, Morgan Freeman, Jim Gaffigan, Ricky Gervais, Johnny Gilbert, Whoopi Goldberg, Tim Gunn, Gigi Hadid, Jennifer Hale, Halsey, Mark Hamill as the Joker, Chloe Kim, Lisa Koshy, Tara Lipinski, Lisa Liu, Macklemore, Malcolm McDowell, Casey Musgraves, Bill Nye, Chris Paul, Penn and Teller, Axl Rose, Christian Shaw, Sia, Christian Slater, Jason Sudeikis, Wanda Sykes, George Sakai, Keenan Thompson, Alex Trebek, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Jane Weedland, and Jaleel White, Weird Al Yankovic, and Maddie Ziegler.
I gotta be honest, their biggest get there, Joey Chestnut.
Yeah, but they had fictional guests, the Hex Girl, Steve Urkel, Wonder Woman, Sherlock Holmes, Batman, Alfred Pennyworth, Joker, Flash, Trickster, Magilla Gorilla, Abraham Lincoln, good get, and characters from the Funky Phantom.
Yeah, it's a fun show. It was on the Cartoon Network for a little bit. I think there are reruns of it on the Boomerang channel now.
And we got Frank Welker doing Scoob and
yeah,
Fred.
Yeah, still.
You have Matthew Lillard from the movies.
Actually doing a voice. That's crazy.
And he was great.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the live action guys. I really enjoyed those movies.
They were so much fun.
And the cast was awesome.
Yeah.
Matthew Lillard was genius casting.
Yeah.
And same with Sarah Michelle Gellar and her husband, Freddie Prinze Jr.
Freddie Prinze.
And of course, the impeccable Linda Cardellini.
Yeah.
So good.
She was great as Velma.
But sorry. So I didn't finish. I sidetracked.
It's okay.
Gray Griffin as Daphne and the wonderful Kate Micucci as Velma. They're also doing a Velma series with one of my favorites, the totally funny Mindy Kaling.
Oh, yeah.
As Velma.
Oh, it's an animated series, yeah.
Oh, which should be super fun.
Totally fun. Does not seem like Scooby-Doo stopping anytime soon.
Scooby-Doo is going to be around for hopefully another 50 years, and I'm all for it.
100%. Everything they do is at least funny. They didn't ever take themselves seriously, and it's nice.
No, and just listening to the new group of people that are the guests on the Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, they don't take. I watched the Ricky Gervais and the Jim Gaffigan, and they were both hilarious. It's just it's great to see our stars of today fitting in that fun little world and just having fun. Well, thanks for joining us for our penultimate Dog Days of Summer episode. We're going to come at you next week with a little something for the stepdads. We're going to talk about dogs. We're going to talk about Saturday morning cartoons and some fun stuff, having a couple of cocktails. But thanks so much for joining us. And remember, Ruby, Ruby,
Wow. Great start.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming, Freaky and the Bean, already in progress.